Most people make the same mistake. They say they're working hard, but what they're really doing is waiting for quick results. They check their progress every 5 minutes. They start strong, but the moment nothing shows up fast, they stop. They give up not because they're weak, but because they never learned the real skill, falling in love with the work itself. That's the truth most people avoid. They want the reward without the grind. They want the applause without the repetition. And that's why they quit too soon. But here's the shift that changes everything. Stop waiting for motivation, stop waiting for perfect conditions, and stop needing proof that it's working. Instead, get obsessed with showing up. Get obsessed with staying consistent. Get obsessed with doing the hard stuff daily without needing a reward. When you can do that, you stop being fragile. You stop needing outside approval. You stop needing the world to recognize you. And something powerful happens, you become unshakable. You trust yourself because you know you'll do the work with or without applause. That's not hype. That's the mindset that actually gets results. If you're tired of starting over, if you're tired of quitting too soon, this is the message you've been waiting for. This isn't about tricks. This is about building a mindset that lasts for life. A mindset that guarantees growth no matter what. When you wake up in the morning, the day is wide open. You hold in your hands a fresh chance to shape everything that follows. But here's the problem. Most people waste that chance. They roll out of bed, reach for their phones, scroll through distractions, and drift straight into comfort. The pattern is set. Easy choices at the start of the day create easy choices for the rest of the day. Weakness breeds weakness. But there's another way, a stronger way. Start your day by doing the hardest thing first. Attack the task you've been avoiding. Tackle the work that demands the most energy. Make the phone call, finish the project, hit the workout, whatever it is for you. When you choose the hardest task at the start of your day, you send yourself a powerful message. I choose growth over comfort. I choose progress over excuses. I choose to lead my day instead of letting my day lead me. This isn't just productivity advice. It's mental training. It's discipline. Every day you face choices. Some are easy, some are tough. The hardest ones are usually the ones that grow you. The task you keep postponing, that's the one that matters most. And every time you avoid it, you weaken yourself. Every time you face it, you strengthen yourself. Starting with the hardest task builds self-respect. It proves to you that you're capable of carrying weight. And self-respect is the foundation of success. Think about it. If you delay the hard thing, it haunts you all day. You feel the stress in the background. You know it's waiting for you, heavy and unfinished. But if you handle it first, you start the day lighter, clearer, stronger. You feel proud because you already did what most people would keep running from. That pride creates momentum. Suddenly the smaller tasks feel easier. Your confidence rises. The rest of the day flows. Why does this work so well? Because willpower and focus are at their peak in the morning. That's when your mind is sharpest. That's when you're least drained by distractions. If you wait until later, resistance grows. You get pulled in 100 directions. But when you act early, you use your best energy where it matters most. You control the day instead of the day controlling you. Picture this. You wake up and look straight at the thing you've been avoiding. Every excuse in your mind starts firing. Do it later. Start easy. You're not ready yet. But instead of listening, you cut through the noise. You say, I'll do it now. You break the task into steps. You push through the discomfort. And then, at the moment you finish, something powerful happens. You feel lighter. You feel proud. You feel alive. That wave of relief and energy is your reward. And it fuels everything else you do. That's the psychology of strength. Each time you do the hardest thing first, you send yourself a message about who you are. You say, I'm the kind of person who doesn't run. I'm the kind of person who faces challenges head-on. I'm the kind of person I can trust. And that identity compounds. Over time, it reshapes the way you see yourself. And the way you see yourself determines how far you'll go. If you see yourself as weak, you'll shrink. If you see yourself as strong, you'll rise. That's why this principle is so powerful. It's not just about a task. It's about the person you're becoming. Think about work. Imagine you have a report due. It requires focus, effort, and clarity. If you delay it, the report hangs over your head all day. You waste mental energy thinking about it but not doing it. But if you attack it first thing in the morning, you clear your head. You gain energy. You're free to handle everything else with more focus. The same principle applies to health. If exercise is your hardest task, doing it first means your entire day is built on discipline instead of excuses. Your body feels alive. Your mind feels sharper. And that energy carries into every decision that follows. It even applies emotionally. Avoiding hard tasks breeds guilt, frustration, and stress. Facing them breeds pride and confidence. That's the difference between living heavy and living free. Each morning, you get to choose the emotional tone for your entire day. But here's the key. This has nothing to do with motivation. If you're waiting to feel like it, you've already lost. Motivation is unreliable. Comes and goes like the weather. The secret is discipline. Discipline means you act whether you feel like it or not. When you make it a rule to do the hardest task first, you no longer wait for motivation. You depend on commitment. And commitment is what separates the successful from the stuck. Here's how to apply it. Before bed, write down the hardest, most important task you need to complete tomorrow. Circle it. In the morning, before you check your phone, before you touch distractions, go straight to that task. Even if you only get started, momentum is built. And momentum is what changes everything. Small daily wins stack into massive growth. Your mind will always resist hard work. That resistance is your signal. It means you're on the right track. Comfort whispers, take the easy path. Do it later. Rest first. But every time you push past that voice, you prove something important. You're stronger than your excuses. That's how resilience is built. Each win against resistance makes the next one easier. And over time, you transform from someone who avoids challenges into someone who thrives on them. Life will not hand you success just because you want it. Success belongs to the ones who show up consistently, especially when it's uncomfortable. Results take time. You can't control when they arrive, but you can always control your effort today. And when you consistently do the hardest thing first, results eventually have no choice but to follow. Two people wake up. One chooses comfort. They scroll, check messages, handle minor tasks, avoid the heavy work. The other faces the hardest task immediately. At the end of a year, the difference between them is massive. One is stuck where they began, weighed down by avoidance. The other is unrecognizable, stronger, more capable, more confident, because they built a habit of facing challenges every single day. That's the compound effect of daily discipline. And here's the truth. Avoiding hard tasks creates a constant background tension. You carry it with you, but facing them creates calm and clarity. Life feels better. You're in control. You're free. That emotional shift is one of the greatest rewards of all. Some people fear doing the hardest task because they might fail. But failure is not the enemy. Avoidance is the enemy. Even if you don't complete it perfectly, you win by starting. You win by trying. You win by refusing to run. Each morning you choose a direction. Toward weakness by avoiding, or toward strength by acting. Those small daily choices are what shape your future. So tomorrow morning, when you wake up, ask yourself one question. What's the hardest thing I need to do today? Answer honestly, then do it first. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Just begin. Feel the resistance. Push through it. And when you finish, feel the pride of knowing you started your day with strength. That pride is what transforms not just your mornings, but your entire life. Start with the hardest task. Make it your rule. Make it your identity. And watch as it changes everything. Every morning you wake up and face two worlds. The one you can control and the one you cannot. The mistake most people make is pouring their energy into the second world, the one that will never bend to their will. They stress about the future. They replay the past. They obsess over opinions, judgments, and circumstances outside their hands. And in doing so, they drain themselves of the very power they need to move forward. But here's the truth. Strength is built when you focus only on what is in your control today. your effort, your choices, your actions. That's the only territory you own. And if you learn to guard your attention, if you train yourself to put all your energy into what you can do right now, you will live with clarity, calm, and power. Why are so many people anxious and stuck? It's not the weight of their work. It's the weight of their thoughts. They replay mistakes that cannot be undone. They worry about outcomes they cannot guarantee. They compare themselves to others whose lives they cannot control. Every one of those mental patterns is wasted energy. It's like pouring water into a bucket with holes. No matter how much you pour, it all drains out. And that's why they feel powerless. Because they're trying to control the uncontrollable. They're trying to bend reality with worry. But reality doesn't bend. The only thing that bends is you. Your focus, your choices, your effort. If you want to make progress, you must break out of that prison. You must learn to redirect all that energy toward what is actually in your hands today. Ask yourself this. If you stripped away everything you can't control, the economy, the weather, the past, other people's opinions, what would be left? Your actions in this moment. And that's where all your power is. This is not a small shift. It's a revolution in the way you live. Most people are constantly thinking, what if? What if this goes wrong? What if they reject me? What if I fail? But winners ask a different question. What now? What can I do in this hour with this task in this moment? That's the discipline of now. And when you practice it daily, it transforms your life. Picture two people. One spends the day replaying mistakes, stressing about what others think, and worrying about the future. The other spends the day making calls, writing, learning, creating, showing up with consistent effort. Who grows faster? Who sleeps with confidence at night? The answer is obvious. Energy given to action produces strength. Energy wasted on uncontrollables produces weakness. Take a student preparing for an exam. They can't control the exact questions. They can't control the grading system, but they can control how many hours they study, how focused they are, how much they practice. If they obsess about the exam instead of studying, they feel anxious and unprepared. But if they focus on the actions they control, studying daily, they walk into the exam with confidence. Think about your career. You can't control whether your boss recognizes every effort. You can't control whether the market shifts. But you can control your work ethic, your skill development, your consistency. That's where your power is. Or relationships. You cannot control whether people like you or not. You can't control if they approve or reject you. But you can control how you treat them. You can control whether you show respect, whether you act with honesty, whether you listen. If you keep chasing their approval, you'll feel powerless. But if you focus on building your own character, you'll attract the right people and repel the wrong ones. That's strength. Here's another shift. People who obsess over uncontrollables always look for someone to blame. They say, the system is against me. They didn't give me a chance. Life isn't fair. And maybe they're right. But does that blame change anything? No. The stronger mindset is, what can I do right now? Maybe you can learn a new skill. Maybe you can reach out to one more person. Maybe you can put in more hours. These actions may not guarantee instant success, but they guarantee growth. And growth is always under your control. Most stress doesn't come from work. It comes from attachment to what you can't control. Think about it. How often do you feel tense because you're imagining outcomes that may or may not happen? That's your mind wasting energy on ghosts. The way out is to return your focus to what you can control, your breath, your work, your next action. When you stay here in the present, stress dissolves. You realize the future is not yours to command, but the present is. And if you do the best with the present, the future will take care of itself in ways you can't always see. Here's a simple exercise that can change your life. Each morning, make 2 lists. On the first list, write everything you cannot control. The weather, other people's opinions, the economy, the past, the future. Then tear it up. On the second list, write everything you can control. Your effort, your time, your habits, your health, your words. Then commit to putting all your energy into the second list. Do this daily and you'll rewire your brain. You'll stop wasting energy on illusions and start anchoring your life in reality. Don't confuse desire with control. Many people want results so badly they think they can force them. But outcomes are never fully in your hands. You can't control if your business explodes overnight. But you can control your calls, your service, your consistency. You can't control if people praise your work. But you can control the quality of what you deliver. That's the difference. If you anchor yourself in outcomes, disappointment will crush you. But if you anchor yourself in effort, nothing can shake you. The human brain craves certainty. It wants guarantees. But life rarely offers them. If you wait for certainty before acting, you may never move. That's why this discipline matters. It teaches you to live with uncertainty without being paralyzed by it. You stop asking, will this work? And start saying, I will work. You move forward not because the road is clear, but because you know the step in front of you is yours to take. When results don't come fast, comparison starts creeping in. You look at others and wonder why they're advancing while you're not. But comparison is poison. You don't see their struggles. You don't see their hidden failures. You only see the highlight reel. And the more you compare, the more you abandon your own process to chase someone else's timeline. But if you focus only on your own controllable actions, you don't need to compare. The only question that matters is, am I better than I was yesterday? Life will hit you with losses, rejections, and setbacks. You can't control those, but you can always control your response. Do you stand up again? Do you learn something from it? Do you keep moving forward? That's resilience. Resilience is not the absence of pain. It's the decision of how you respond when pain comes. And your response is always under your control. Here's a practical step. When you feel overwhelmed by everything you need to do, stop. Ask yourself one small question. What is one action I can take right now? Not tomorrow. Not later. Right now. Often overwhelm comes not because the work is too big, but because the mind is scattered. By focusing on one controllable action, you restore clarity. And clarity creates movement. Every person who achieved something meaningful lived by this principle. Athletes can't control the score, but they control their training. Leaders can't control everyone's opinions, but they control their courage and preparation. Students can't control grades entirely, but they control study habits. The winners are not those who obsessed over outcomes. They're the ones who kept giving their best effort every day. So tomorrow, when you wake up, remind yourself, you don't control the world. You don't control other people. You don't control outcomes. But you always control what you do today. That is enough. That is your power. Build your life on that foundation. Focus only on what you can control, and watch as results come in their own time. Because even before the results, you will already have something better. Peace. The peace of knowing you gave your best in the part of life you could touch. And that's where true power lies, not in controlling the world, but in controlling yourself. Most people have a broken relationship with work. They treat it like a punishment, like a prison sentence they just have to survive. They wake up every morning with resistance in their chest. They drag themselves into tasks, counting the minutes until they can stop. And in that mindset, every day becomes a battle against themselves. But here's the secret the disciplined already know. You can train your mind to enjoy the act of working. Not by waiting for inspiration, not by chasing motivation, but by reshaping how you see effort itself. Work doesn't have to be suffering. Work can be fuel. Work can be growth. Work can even be something you crave, because it's where you prove your strength. Enjoyment doesn't just appear one day out of nowhere. You don't suddenly wake up with joy for discipline. If anything, your brain is wired against it. The human mind loves comfort, loves pleasure, loves the easy path. But the easy path doesn't build you. That's why training is necessary. Think of your brain like a muscle. It grows in the direction of repetition. If every time you work, you tell yourself this is suffering, your brain learns to hate it. But if every time you work, you remind yourself this is how I grow, your brain begins to connect effort with pride. The task hasn't changed. Your attitude has. And attitude is everything. Watch what happens when you avoid work. First, it feels like relief. You say, I'll do it later. And for a few minutes, the pressure lifts. But soon guilt creeps in. Stress grows. Deep down, you know you're falling behind. The weight doesn't go away, it doubles. Now compare that to the times you've faced your work fully. It wasn't always fun at the start, but once you locked in, once you lost yourself in the process, something powerful happened. Your focus sharpened. Your energy rose. You finished and felt proud. The difference wasn't in the work. It was in the decision to engage instead of avoid. That's the secret. Resistance is temporary, but pride lasts. Think of athletes. Training isn't always fun for them. Their muscles ache. They wake up sore. They push past exhaustion. But they've trained their minds to link that burn with progress. They've learned to love the struggle because it tells them they're improving. You may not be running laps or lifting weights, but your daily work is the same principle. Pushes you, it stretches you, and when you train your mind to connect effort with growth, you begin to take pride in the struggle itself. One of the fastest ways to enjoy work is to celebrate progress inside the process, not just at the finish line. Too many people only feel good when the big result shows up. That's why they quit so easily. They can't see the payoff fast enough. But what if you learned to notice the small wins? Did you focus longer today than yesterday? Did you finish a section you'd been avoiding? Did you stay disciplined for one more hour? Those are victories. They're proof you're growing. If you train your mind to see those small wins, your brain starts rewarding you in the middle of the grind, not just at the end. That's how you build momentum. That's how you start enjoying the process itself. Another reason people hate work is because they treat it as something forced on them. They think of deadlines, demands, and outside pressure. They forget that at its core, work is self-directed. Every hour you put in is an investment in your own growth. Every task you complete is shaping your life, your skills, your opportunities. When you remind yourself of that, you no longer feel like a prisoner. You feel empowered. You're not working for someone else, you're working for you. And that ownership changes everything. Work stops being a burden and becomes a choice. Half work is misery. That's when people complain about how boring work feels, because they're not actually working. They're halfway in, halfway out. Phone in one hand, task in the other. Daydreaming, scrolling, distracting themselves. No wonder it feels dull. But when you throw yourself completely into the task, when you give it your full presence, time moves differently. You hit flow. The minutes speed by. You feel locked in, alive. Suddenly the work itself becomes rewarding, because you're fully there. Presence turns boredom into momentum. There will always be days when resistance feels heavier than usual. Days when you'd rather do anything than work. On those days, the secret is not to wait for the feeling to change. The secret is to start anyway. The first 5 minutes are always the hardest. Once you're inside the work, resistance weakens. You feel stronger. That's why starting is the real battle. If you can just get yourself to begin, the rest flows. Remember this, regret lasts longer than resistance. Every time you avoid work, you feel regret afterward. Every time you face it, you feel pride. Choose pride. People think discipline means monotony, endless repetition. But discipline doesn't mean boring. You can keep structure while adding variety. Change your environment. Work in intervals. Break tasks into sections. Set micro-challenges like finishing faster or doing it with higher quality. This keeps your mind engaged. It makes the work feel less like drudgery and more like a game you're constantly improving at. Discipline doesn't have to be dull. It can be alive. Here's the truth. Every time you avoid work, you feel weaker. Every time you do work, you feel stronger. That loop is powerful. You can use it to rewire yourself. When you feel resistance, remind yourself, if I avoid this, I'll regret it. If I do this, I'll respect myself. That thought alone can tip the scales. Over time, your brain learns. Discipline feels better than avoidance. Listen to how you talk to yourself about work. If every sentence is negative, this sucks, I hate this, I just want it to be over, you're teaching your brain to hate effort. But if you change your language, this is making me stronger, I'm building myself, this is how I grow, you create a new association. Over weeks and months, your brain starts to believe it. You start to feel good the moment you begin. That's the power of self-talk. Think about the moments in life you'll look back on with pride. They won't be the hours you spent avoiding effort. They'll be the hours you pushed through, the nights you stayed focused, the mornings you worked when no one else did. That's what you'll remember. That's what you'll cherish. Work is not punishment. Work is the substance of a meaningful life. If you can remember that daily, work stops being something to run from. It becomes something you embrace because it's proof you're alive and growing. Here's a practice that changes everything. Gratitude. Instead of seeing work as unfair, see it as a privilege. Millions of people would give anything to have your opportunities to learn, to build, to earn, to create. When you frame work as a gift, it feels different. Gratitude makes effort lighter, turns discipline into honor. If you practice this long enough, something incredible happens. The resistance fades. The pride strengthens. Work stops being something you dread and becomes something you're eager to face. Not because it's easy, but because you've trained yourself to love the struggle. This doesn't mean you'll never feel tired again. It doesn't mean every day will be easy, but it means you'll feel alive in the middle of the challenge. And that's where life is richest. So tomorrow, when you sit down to work, don't ask, when will this be over? Ask instead, how can I give myself fully to this? Notice the progress. Embrace the discipline. Celebrate the small wins. Train your mind to love the grind. Because the truth is simple. Success doesn't belong to the ones who escape work. It belongs to the ones who learn to enjoy it. Most people can't stay consistent because they keep working with one eye on the future. They ask, when will this pay off? When will I see the results? When will I finally get rewarded? That mindset is a trap. It creates frustration, impatience, and disappointment, because rewards never come as quickly as we hope. If your focus is always on what tomorrow might bring, you rob today of its power. You water down your effort because you're distracted. The real strength lies in this, doing today's work simply because it needs to be done, without obsessing about tomorrow's reward. This isn't about ignoring the future. It's about refusing to let the future steal the quality of your effort right now. When you tie your effort to reward, you become fragile. If the recognition comes, you feel good. If it doesn't, you stop. If results appear quickly, you push forward. If they don't, you quit. That inconsistency guarantees failure. The people who truly grow are the ones who say, I will give my best today, whether the reward comes now, later, or never at all. That mindset builds resilience. It builds strength. And eventually, it creates results that outlast those who were chasing quick payoffs. Think about what happens when your eyes are always locked on the prize. You rush your work. You cut corners. Or you feel so discouraged by slow progress that you stop altogether. Stress multiplies because every action is judged by its payoff. But if you release that obsession, if you give full energy to the work itself, you find calm. You stop wasting time questioning whether it's worth it. You stop burning energy on doubt. You know the reward will take care of itself if you take care of the work. That's freedom. That's clarity. Imagine a student learning a new skill. If all they think about is when will I be good at this, they'll burn out. Frustration will crush them before progress appears. But if the student says, I will practice today, I will improve by one step, they grow faster. They don't drown in pressure because they're focused on the present. And when the results eventually show, they arrive naturally without the anxiety. This principle applies everywhere. Business, health, relationships, self-development. The reward is built over time, but the discipline of today is what makes it possible. When you attach happiness only to outcomes, you're always living in the future. You're always waiting for some better tomorrow to feel satisfied. But tomorrow never arrives the way you imagine it. There will always be another milestone, another goal, another result to chase. If you don't learn to value today's work, you'll spend your entire life waiting instead of living. The way out is to shift how you measure your worth. Don't tie it to what you get. Tie it to what you give. Don't measure yourself by outcomes you can't fully control. Measure yourself by effort you can control every single day. When you do work well, even if no one notices, you're making a statement. I am a person who gives my best. That identity is more valuable than any external reward. It's self-respect. It's trust. It's power. Rewards are unstable. Some days they come, some days they don't. If your motivation depends on them, your actions will rise and fall. But if your motivation comes from the act of working itself, you'll be consistent. And consistency is what creates momentum. Momentum is what makes success inevitable. That's why the people who last are not the ones who get quick wins. They're the ones who keep working when there's no applause, no recognition, no guarantee. Here's a simple exercise. Each morning, ask yourself, what work deserves my full attention today? Circle it. Then commit to giving it everything you have, without attaching it to tomorrow's outcome. When your mind starts drifting into thoughts like, what if this doesn't work? Or when will I get rewarded? Pull yourself back. Say, the reward is not mine to control. Today's effort is. That repetition will train your mind to focus on what matters. If you work only for reward, you're at the mercy of forces you can't control. Someone praises you, you feel strong. Someone ignores you, you feel worthless. That emotional roller coaster will break you. But when your satisfaction comes from doing your work well today, you can't be shaken. You own your pride. You own your effort. You own your satisfaction. That independence makes you unbreakable. Think about the peace you feel when you go to bed after a day of honest work. You may not have seen the results yet, but you know you gave what you had. That quiet pride is priceless. Compare it to the guilt of wasting a day. The stress of knowing you could have done more. Which life feels better? The choice is obvious. This principle doesn't just apply to career or goals. It applies to people. If you treat others well only because you expect something back, your actions are shallow. But if you treat people well because it's the right thing to do, your relationships are authentic. Over time, they grow stronger than any connection built on transaction. When you chase reward, your emotions swing wildly. Hope when it's near, despair when it's far. That instability drains you. But when you find joy in effort itself, your emotions stabilize. You feel proud because you acted with discipline, not because you got something in return. That stability allows you to keep going, day after day, without burning out. Here's a powerful practice. At the end of each day, write down 3 things you did with effort and discipline, regardless of the outcome. Maybe you exercised when you didn't feel like it. Maybe you finished a task you wanted to avoid. Maybe you studied 1 more hour. That habit trains your brain to value effort over results. Over time, you'll feel stronger each day, not because you got rewarded, but because you proved you showed up. There will always be uncertainty about outcomes. You can't control how fast results come. You can't control all the factors that influence them. But you can always control how much effort you give today. That's the freedom. Knowing that your life is not built on conditions, but on discipline. Rewards may come later, but you already have something greater, peace. The peace of knowing you gave your best today. The truth is, the most successful people in history weren't driven by quick rewards. They were driven by the principle of giving their best today. Some of them worked for years without recognition. But when their breakthrough finally came, it was undeniable. Their results looked sudden to others, but in reality, they were just the natural harvest of seeds planted every day without conditions. That's the kind of success you want, the kind built on character, not chance. So tomorrow, when you wake up, stop asking, what will I get if I do this? Instead ask, what will I become if I do this? Because the truth is, results will fade. Applause will fade. But the person you're becoming, that lasts. Do today's work. Do it fully. Do it without needing tomorrow's reward. Because that's the mindset that builds strength, peace, and success that cannot be taken away. Self-respect is not something you're given. It's not something you can buy. It's not something you can demand from others. Self-respect is something you earn, and you earn it through your actions. Through the way you live every single day. At its core, self-respect is built on 2 simple principles. Showing up, finishing what you start. These sound simple, but repeated over time, they create unshakable confidence. The kind of confidence no one can give you and no one can take away. Without self-respect, you may look strong on the outside, but deep down you'll always feel weak. Because the truth is, if you can't trust yourself, nothing else matters. Most people wait until they feel ready. They wait for motivation. They wait for the perfect plan. But perfect conditions never arrive. And so, day after day, they delay. The hardest part of anything is not the work itself. It's showing up. Once you step into the environment, momentum carries you forward. Think about it. The hardest step of going to the gym isn't the workout, it's walking through the door. The hardest part of writing isn't typing words. It's opening the laptop and starting. Every time you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you prove something important. You can be counted on. And that alone builds strength. Starting is easy. Excitement makes it easy. But finishing? That's where most people fall apart. They get bored. They get tired. They face obstacles and let them win. Every time you quit halfway, you weaken yourself. You send a message to your brain. I can't trust my own word. But every time you finish, no matter how small the task, you deposit trust into your self-respect account. You say, I follow through. I can rely on me. That quiet pride is priceless. It compounds over time, shaping you into someone who no longer doubts themselves. Think about the times you told yourself you'd do something and didn't follow through. Maybe it was a workout routine. Maybe it was a project. Maybe it was a promise to wake up early. First, you shrug it off. But deep down, you know the truth. You broke your word. The mind remembers. Even when you try to forget, it leaves a mark. Over time, those broken promises build an identity of weakness. And when opportunities come, you hesitate. Why? Because you don't trust yourself anymore. But when you consistently show up and finish, the opposite happens. You stand taller. You think clearer. You act with courage. Because you know your word means something. You know you'll follow through. Imagine someone who commits to writing for 1 hour each morning. They don't feel like it most days. Some mornings are harder than others. But they show up anyway. They finish their hour every single day. After weeks, they feel proud. Not because the world applauded, but because they know they kept their word. That pride leaks into other areas of life. Soon, they approach challenges with more confidence. Why? Because they've built proof of reliability. Now contrast that with someone who starts diets, workouts, and projects but never finishes. They have excuses for others, but deep down, they know the truth. They know they're inconsistent, and that knowledge eats away at confidence. That's the difference between living with self-respect and living without it. Self-respect isn't built in grand moments. It's built in small, daily acts. Finishing the dishes instead of leaving them half done. Completing the workout instead of quitting at the halfway mark. Finishing the book you started. Each completed task is a deposit into your identity. Most people wait until they achieve something huge to respect themselves. But self-respect doesn't come in giant leaps. It comes in stacking small completions every day. When you master the small promises, you build the strength to handle the big ones. Here's a truth most people avoid. You can't build self-respect on lies. If you keep making promises you know you won't keep, you destroy your trust in yourself. Better to commit to less and follow through than to commit to everything and deliver nothing. If you say you'll do it, mean it. If you commit, finish. Let your word to yourself carry weight. That's how self-respect grows. Every time you finish something uncomfortable, you strengthen your discipline muscle. Every time you quit, you weaken it. Over time, those choices compound into habits. Habits compound into identity. And identity shapes destiny. This is why showing up and finishing matters so much. It's not about the task itself, it's about who you become because of it. Don't confuse finishing with perfection. Perfection is an illusion that paralyzes people. They'd rather quit than finish something imperfect. But here's the truth. Self-respect doesn't come from flawless execution. It comes from completion. Even if the work isn't perfect, finishing strengthens you. Perfection comes later through practice. But only if you keep finishing. When you build self-respect, others begin to trust you too. People respect those who are consistent. If you're the kind of person who shows up when you say you will, and finishes what you commit to, people notice. Opportunities come your way because reliability is rare. But even more important than their respect is your own. Because when you respect yourself, you stop needing validation. You no longer chase approval. You already hold yourself in high regard. Think about how it feels to end a day knowing you finished what you promised. That quiet pride, that peace, it's worth more than applause. Now compare that to ending a day with unfinished tasks. Guilt lingers. Stress grows. You feel heavy because you know you fell short. Which life do you want? The choice is made in small acts every single day. Here's a practical way to start building self-respect. Each evening, write down 3 tasks for the next day. They don't have to be huge, but they must be finished. In the morning, show up. During the day, finish all 3. Then check them off at night. That small rhythm builds momentum. Over time, you can handle larger commitments with the same discipline. And your identity shifts, you become someone who follows through. When you live this way long enough, self-respect becomes unshakable. You no longer fear failure because you know you'll show up again tomorrow. You no longer fear challenges because you know you'll finish them. You no longer rely on motivation because discipline has taken its place. That's when you become someone different. Someone who commands their own respect. Someone who trusts themselves completely. And here's the truth. That transformation is worth more than any reward. Because in the end, the greatest prize isn't what you achieve. It's who you become. There will always be days when laziness feels louder than discipline. Days when the bed feels warmer than your goals. Days when the couch whispers louder than your commitments. Days when your body says, rest a little longer, and your mind says you'll do it later. These moments are not rare, they are guaranteed. Everyone faces them. And what you decide in those moments matters more than any motivational speech, more than any plan on paper, more than any vision board. Because the truth is, your future isn't shaped by what you plan. It's shaped by what you do when you feel like doing nothing. The decision you make in the grip of laziness separates those who grow from those who stay stuck. Laziness disguises itself as kindness. It whispers, "You've worked hard, take it easy. One skipped day won't hurt. Rest now, you'll start again tomorrow." And it feels harmless. But deep down, you know it's a trap. Because every time you choose comfort over effort, you're reinforcing weakness. The more you give in, the stronger laziness becomes. And the more you resist it, the weaker it gets. It's like a muscle. Each time you push back against laziness, you grow stronger. Each time you give in, laziness grows stronger. That's why these small choices are everything. You're not just deciding whether to work or rest. You're deciding which part of you to train, your discipline or your weakness. Comfort feels good in the moment, but it costs you long-term. Think about it. How often have you skipped something important and felt guilty afterward? That guilt sticks, eats away at you. It builds regret. Now think about the times you pushed yourself to act even when you didn't feel like it. Maybe you forced yourself to go for a run. Maybe you sat down to study. Maybe you finished a project when you wanted to quit. At the end, how did you feel? Tired, yes, but also proud. Alive. Strong. That's the difference. Comfort gives short-term relief and long-term regret. Discipline gives short-term discomfort and long-term pride. Which one do you want to build your life on? Here's the truth. Laziness is hardest to beat at the beginning. The first step is the heaviest. But once you start, momentum kicks in. That's why the most powerful strategy is to lower the barrier to action. Don't tell yourself you have to do a 2-hour workout. Tell yourself you'll do 5 minutes. Don't tell yourself you have to write 10 pages. Tell yourself you'll write 1 paragraph. Don't tell yourself you have to clean the whole house. Tell yourself you'll start with 1 corner. 9 times out of 10, once you begin, you'll keep going. Because starting breaks laziness grip. Momentum carries you further than you thought you could go. Another way to crush laziness is to reconnect with why you started in the first place. Laziness wins when you forget the bigger picture. When you forget that every decision builds your future. Ask yourself, what is at stake if I keep choosing comfort? Your health? Your career? Your confidence? Your dreams? Then ask, what will I gain if I push through today? Progress, strength, pride. Sometimes the fastest way to get out of bed, to stand up from the couch, or to stop procrastinating is to remind yourself of the cost of staying there. Your environment can either feed laziness or starve it. If your phone is the first thing you grab in the morning, laziness will thrive. If your desk is cluttered, your mind will wander. If your workout clothes are hidden in a drawer, comfort wins. But if you set your environment to make action easy, discipline becomes natural. Put your workout clothes next to your bed. Keep a book on your desk instead of your phone. Clear the clutter where you work. Small adjustments change everything. Make laziness harder. Make action easier. Here's something people forget. Laziness often masquerades as tiredness. You say, "I'm too tired to work." But the truth is, doing nothing makes you more tired. Comfort drains you. Effort renews you. Think about the times you forced yourself to move when you didn't feel like it. How often did you actually feel more awake once you got started? That's because action creates energy. The body responds to movement. The mind responds to focus. Laziness doesn't restore you. It weakens you. Discipline, even when uncomfortable, strengthens you. Excuses are the language of laziness. I'll start later. One day off won't matter. I deserve this break. But every excuse is a lie, because laziness always wants more. One skipped day turns into two. Two turns into a week. A week turns into a month. You can't negotiate with laziness. You can't give it a little bit of your time and expect it to stay small. The only way to win is to starve it by refusing to listen. When the excuses come, recognize them for what they are, weakness trying to trick you. Then act anyway. Laziness thrives in secrecy. When no one knows your plans, it's easy to skip them. But when you tell someone you trust what you're going to do, you create pressure. You don't want to look weak. This is why accountability works. Share your goals. Ask someone to check in. Let them know what you're working on. Laziness hates accountability because it can't hide. And over time, accountability turns inward. You start holding yourself to a higher standard because you've built pride in your consistency. Every time you overcome laziness, you tell yourself something powerful. I am someone who follows through. I am someone who acts even when it's hard. That identity compounds. Soon, you begin to see yourself differently. And when you see yourself as disciplined, you stop doubting your own strength. You don't ask, "Can I do this?" You already know the answer. That shift in self-image is the greatest reward discipline gives you. Every day, comfort will whisper to you. It will say, "Stay here, rest more, do it tomorrow." And every day you'll face a choice. You can choose laziness and stay the same, or you can choose discipline and become stronger. These choices may feel small in the moment, but over weeks and years, they add up to everything. Your health, your career, your confidence, your future. When you look back on your life, you won't remember the mornings you stayed in bed or the afternoons you wasted in comfort. You'll remember the days you rose when you didn't feel like it, the nights you kept going when you wanted to quit, the moments you proved to yourself that you were stronger than your excuses. Those are the memories that build pride. Those are the moments that shape you. Comfort feels safe now, but it steals your time. Discipline feels hard now, but it builds your future. That's the trade. Every time laziness whispers, remember this. You won't regret the effort, but you will regret the comfort that stole your progress. Push yourself. Stand up. Take the first step. Break laziness one decision at a time. Every victory builds momentum. Every act of discipline builds strength. And eventually, what once felt impossible will become your new normal. One of the greatest traps you will ever face in life is caring too much about what other people think. From the time you were a child, you were rewarded with approval, gold stars, grades, compliments, pats on the back. Somewhere along the way, your brain was trained to equate praise with worth. But here's the harsh truth. If you keep living for approval, you will never live for yourself. You'll always adjust your actions to fit someone else's opinion. And worse, you'll never feel stable. Because opinions shift like the wind. One day they clap for you, the next day they criticize you. One day they admire you, the next they doubt you. If your self-worth is tied to that roller coaster, you'll never feel grounded. You cannot control people's opinions. You cannot control what they say, how they feel about you, or what judgments they carry in their heads. Sometimes their opinions have nothing to do with you at all. They reflect their own insecurities, their own limitations, their own jealousy. So why would you let that dictate how you feel about yourself? The moment you attach your value to the approval of others, you give away your power. They own your emotions. They decide when you feel proud and when you feel crushed. That's not strength, that's slavery to opinions. But when you root your worth in your own effort, in the work you do, the consistency you keep, the discipline you show, no one can take that away. Because effort is yours. It's under your control. Ask yourself, what is real proof of your strength? Someone's compliment? Or the hours you put in when no one was watching? Compliments fade. Opinions change. Effort lasts. Discipline compounds. Every time you show up and give your best, you create evidence. Evidence that you are serious, evidence that you are reliable, evidence that you are building something real. That evidence becomes your foundation. The truth is, when you focus on effort instead of opinions, you gain something rare: stability. Your pride is no longer fragile. You no longer feel worthless just because someone ignored you. You no longer feel high one moment and low the next. You feel steady because your pride is rooted in something no one can control but you. Think about how heavy it feels to constantly wonder, what will they think? Will they like it? Will they approve? That hesitation kills momentum before you even start. You abandon projects halfway because you're unsure how people will react. You hold yourself back from risks because you fear criticism. That mindset keeps you small. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine waking up and asking yourself only one question. Did I give my best today? That question frees you, cuts out the noise. It brings peace because the answer is always within your control. This doesn't mean you ignore everyone. Feedback is valuable. Guidance helps you improve. But there's a difference between using feedback to grow and living for approval. Feedback is about correction, it points you toward improvement. Approval is about validation, it feeds insecurity. One helps you rise, the other keeps you stuck. Learn the difference. Use feedback. Ignore approval. Every person who has achieved something meaningful faced doubt, criticism, and judgment. Athletes, leaders, innovators, writers, entrepreneurs. Every single one of them was told they couldn't make it. Every single one of them was judged, doubted, even laughed at. The difference is, they didn't let those voices dictate their actions. They kept working. They kept showing up. They kept proving themselves through effort, not through convincing others. Over time, results silenced the noise. The same will be true for you. People may doubt you. They may question you. They may even mock you. But if you keep your head down and stay consistent, eventually your progress becomes undeniable. Effort always outlasts opinions. At the end of the day, you know the truth. If you worked hard, you feel peace even if no one noticed. If you wasted the day, you feel guilt, even if everyone praised you. That's proof that effort is the real source of self-respect. Validation feels good for a moment, but it fades. Inner respect lasts because it is built on evidence you can't deny. Here's a practice that will rewire your brain. Every time you catch yourself thinking about opinions, stop and ask, have I done the work today? If the answer is yes, let that be enough. Train your mind to measure success by effort, not applause. Over time, this habit becomes automatic. You stop asking, what do they think of me? And start asking, what did I give today? That shift changes everything. Opinions are often based on quick judgment. People may not see the value of your work right away. They may dismiss it because results take time. If you're living for their approval, you'll quit too soon. But if you're living for effort, you'll keep going long enough for the results to show. Patience is fueled not by applause, but by action. Here's another truth. People don't think about you nearly as much as you think they do. Most of the harsh opinions or quick judgments you fear, they're forgotten by others in minutes. But if you let them live rent-free in your mind, you carry them for days, weeks, even years. Isn't it wiser to carry the pride of effort instead of the weight of imagined criticism? At the end of each day, reflect on effort. Did you finish what you promised? Did you resist excuses? Did you push through when you wanted to quit? Celebrate those victories. They may seem small, but they stack into character. and character is worth more than applause. You cannot please everyone. No matter what you do, someone will disagree. Someone will criticize. Someone will misunderstand. If you try to please them all, you'll destroy yourself. But when you build your life on effort, you always win. Because the measure of your worth is not what others think. It's what you gave. That freedom allows you to act boldly, to take risks, and to live authentically. Effort reshapes how you see yourself. Over time, you stop identifying as someone chasing approval and start identifying as someone who simply does the work. That identity is powerful. Because when criticism comes, it doesn't shake you. When praise comes, it doesn't blind you. You remain steady. You become someone who measures life not by the noise around them, but by the discipline inside them. So tomorrow, when you wake up, remember this: you do not control opinions, but you always control effort. You control whether you show up. You control whether you stay consistent. You control whether you finish what you start. Put your energy into what belongs to you, your effort. Let the world think what it will. Because in the end, opinions fade, but effort remains. And when you live this way, you build confidence no one can shake. You build resilience that no criticism can break. And you build a life on the solid ground of your own discipline, not on the fragile foundation of someone else's approval. One of the hardest battles you will ever fight is this: staying consistent when nothing seems to be happening. It's easy to keep working when results appear quickly. When you exercise for a week and see your body change. When you study for a few days and your test scores rise. When you work on a project and people notice right away. That feels good. That keeps you motivated. But life doesn't always reward you that fast. In fact, most of the time it doesn't. You will put in weeks, even months of effort and see nothing. No recognition. No results. No applause. That silence is where most people quit. They confuse invisible progress with no progress at all. And that's the biggest mistake they'll ever make. Think about a seed. You plant it in the soil and for weeks nothing appears. If you're impatient, you'll think the seed is dead. You'll give up. But under the soil, growth is happening. Roots are spreading. Strength is forming. The seed is preparing to break through. The same is true with your effort. Just because you don't see results doesn't mean nothing is happening. Growth is often silent. Strength is built long before it's visible. Every repetition, every study session, every disciplined day is a root being laid down beneath the surface. If you quit too soon, you never give yourself the chance to break through. When results are invisible, doubt gets louder. You'll hear the questions. Is this worth it? Am I wasting my time? Should I stop? Those thoughts are poison. If you let them control you, you'll sabotage yourself right before success arrives. The way to silence doubt is not to demand results. It's to focus on action. Ask yourself, did I do the work today? Did I keep my promise to myself? Because effort is always within your control, even when results are not. Anyone can work hard when the rewards are instant. That's easy. That's not discipline, it's just momentum fueled by dopamine. But only a few people can keep working when there is no recognition, no visible change, no quick payoff. That's real discipline. That's what separates the few who succeed from the many who quit. When you stay with the process during the silent seasons, you are proving to yourself that you don't just want results, you want growth. And growth requires patience. One of the simplest ways to stay consistent during invisible progress is to change how you measure success. Stop asking, did I get the result today? Start asking, did I do the work today? This shift is everything. If you measure yourself by results, you'll be disappointed again and again. But if you measure yourself by effort, you'll always have a reason to be proud. Because you can control effort. You can always choose to show up. And here's the truth. Effort compounds. Stacks. Every day you stay consistent, even without visible change, you're adding bricks to a wall that will one day be undeniable. Think about learning. Sometimes you'll study for weeks and feel like nothing is clicking. Then one day, suddenly, it all makes sense. That clarity wasn't sudden. It was built on the invisible foundation of every hour you put in. The same applies to fitness, business, personal growth, everything. Results don't show up evenly. They show up all at once after weeks or months of silence. What looks like sudden success is actually invisible work stacked over time. One of the most dangerous traps in this season is comparison. When your results feel invisible, it's tempting to look at others and think, they're moving faster than me. They're achieving more. I must be doing something wrong. But you don't see their invisible work. You only see their highlight reel. And if you let comparison infect your mind, you'll quit your process to chase someone else's timeline. Stay in your lane. Trust your grind. Comparison is noise. Consistency is power. When progress feels invisible, your emotions will swing. Some days you'll feel energized. Other days you'll feel hopeless. If you rely on motivation, you'll collapse. That's why you need structure, routine, systems that carry you when you don't feel like it. When discipline becomes part of your identity, you don't need to debate with yourself every day. You just show up. You just act. The routine protects you from the storm of your own emotions. Here's the truth. Invisible results test whether you were serious in the first place. If you quit when nothing shows up, it means you were only chasing the reward. You didn't truly commit to the process. But if you keep going even when results are nowhere to be found, it proves something far more important. It proves you're not just doing this for quick gratification, you're doing it because this is who you are. That kind of commitment is rare. And it's exactly what makes success so powerful when it finally arrives. We live in a world of instant gratification. Fast food, quick entertainment, immediate feedback. Everywhere you look, people are addicted to speed. That's why patience feels so unnatural. But patience is the secret. If you can train yourself to keep showing up without instant rewards, you will outlast 99% of people. Because they'll quit. They'll bounce from one thing to another, chasing the next quick payoff. You'll stay. You'll stack effort. You'll build something they never will, lasting strength. Even when results are invisible, there is still a reward. Every day you keep going, you're building resilience. You're proving to yourself that you can be trusted. That inner pride cannot be taken away. Even if no one sees your effort, you see it. And that knowledge, knowing you honored your word, that's a reward far deeper than applause. At the end of the day, you have a choice. When results feel invisible, you can quit and guarantee failure. Or you can keep going and give yourself the chance to succeed. It's that simple. Quitting makes failure certain. Consistency keeps success possible. So ask yourself, which choice builds the life you want? Here's the beautiful part. If you stay with the process long enough, the results always show up. Not instantly. Not on your timeline, but they come. The body transforms. The mind sharpens. The business grows. The skill improves. And when it happens, people will call it sudden. But you'll know the truth. It wasn't sudden at all. It was invisible progress finally breaking the surface. So tomorrow, when you feel discouraged because nothing seems to be happening, remember this truth. Growth is not always visible, but it is always happening if you are consistent. Stay with the process. Honor your commitment. Keep showing up. Because one day, the invisible will become visible. And when it does, you'll look back with pride knowing you didn't quit when it was hardest to keep going. That is how strength is built. That is how success is earned. Discipline is not proven by what you say. It's not proven by the goals you write down or the big promises you make when you're feeling motivated. Discipline is only proven through one thing: consistent daily action. Anyone can talk about how disciplined they want to be. Anyone can feel inspired for a week and create plans full of ambition. But the ones who actually build discipline don't just talk, they act. They show up every day. They keep their commitments even when motivation disappears. That's how discipline is earned. Not through hype, but through habits. Not through rare heroic moments, but through steady, ordinary choices repeated again and again until they reshape who you are. Most people think discipline looks like a massive burst of willpower. A 16-hour grind session, a sudden strict diet, an extreme challenge that pushes them to their limit. They think those dramatic gestures prove they are disciplined. But discipline isn't about one big day. True discipline is shown in the small, boring, daily actions. Waking up when you said you would. Finishing the workout even when you don't feel like it. Writing the page, making the call, sticking to the plan. It's those little choices, stacked over time, that become proof of discipline. A single act of effort is motivation. A lifetime of small acts, that's discipline. Consistency is what transforms action into identity. Every time you show up, you tell yourself, I am someone who can be trusted. Every time you skip, you tell yourself, I can't count on me. That inner voice matters. Over time, it becomes your self-image. If you want to see yourself as disciplined, you can't just think it, you have to prove it through behavior. Your actions are the evidence. Think about a brick wall. One brick doesn't look like much. 2 bricks still don't feel impressive. But as you keep stacking them, the wall grows. Consistency works the same way. One day of discipline doesn't seem significant. But stacked day after day, it becomes something solid and undeniable. The problem is, most people quit stacking. They lay a few bricks and then stop. Then they wonder why they don't see results. But the disciplined keep stacking, even when the wall looks small, even when no one notices. Eventually, they have built something strong, something lasting. Motivation fades. It always does. It burns hot in the beginning and then disappears. If you depend on motivation to carry you, you'll keep stopping and starting forever. Discipline is different. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't wait for the perfect mood. Discipline says, I act anyway. That's why proving discipline through daily action matters so much. It removes the need for constant emotional highs. You stop chasing feelings and start relying on structure. Life will hit you with setbacks, disappointments, and unexpected problems. If your discipline only works when things are perfect, it will collapse under pressure. But if you've trained yourself to act daily, no matter what, you'll keep moving forward even in difficulty. That resilience becomes your greatest asset. You can't always control circumstances, but you can always control whether you show up. That is where real strength is built. Here's the mistake most people make. They try to be intense instead of consistent. They'll go all in for a short time, 2 weeks of extreme effort, then burn out and quit. They confuse intensity with discipline. But discipline is not intensity. Discipline is steadiness. It's better to do a little every day than a lot once in a while. The person who reads 10 pages a day will finish more books in a year than the person who binge reads 100 pages once a month and then quits. The person who exercises consistently for 30 minutes will get stronger than the one who pushes hard for a week and then collapses into laziness. Discipline is built on daily consistency, not occasional intensity. One of the greatest rewards of daily discipline is self-trust. Every time you do what you said you'd do, you're depositing into your trust account. Every time you break your word, you're making a withdrawal. Over time, those deposits add up. You reach a point where you know you can count on yourself. You stop second-guessing. You stop asking, will I quit this time? You already know the answer, no. Keep going. That trust is priceless. It gives you peace of mind. It gives you confidence. It makes you unstoppable. And the only way to build it is through consistent daily action. Excuses are discipline's enemy. They sound harmless. I'll skip just this once. I'll start tomorrow. I'm too busy today. But every excuse you accept weakens your discipline. The disciplined person refuses to negotiate with excuses. They may feel tired, but they act. They may feel unmotivated, but they act. They may feel uncertain, but they act. And over time, that habit of acting in spite of excuses makes them unstoppable. If you want to prove discipline to yourself, build systems that make consistency easier. Set routines. Do your hardest work at the same time each day. Let structure carry you when motivation fails. Track progress. Mark off your tasks. Check off your habits. Seeing proof of consistency fuels more consistency. Celebrate small wins. Don't wait for big outcomes. Celebrate every day you showed up. That pride compounds. Discipline doesn't need to be dramatic. It just needs to be daily. Daily action creates compounding growth. Skills improve faster. Habits become stronger. Confidence deepens. And over time, the gap between who you were and who you are becomes undeniable. Others may eventually notice, but the real reward is that you notice. You look in the mirror and see someone reliable, someone capable, someone disciplined. That recognition is worth more than any external praise, because it's built on evidence you can't deny. At the end of each day, ask yourself, did I prove discipline today through consistent action? If the answer is yes, you win. No matter what the outcome was, no matter what others said, you win. Because you kept your word. If the answer is no, don't make excuses. Reset. Show up again tomorrow. Over time, more and more days will end with yes. And those yes will transform your life. Here's the final truth. Discipline is not proven once and for all. You can't prove discipline on Monday and then quit on Tuesday. Discipline must be proven daily. Every morning gives you a new opportunity. Every night gives you a verdict. Did you act or did you avoid? The choice is always yours. And over time, those choices define you. So prove it. Not by words, not by dreams, but by action. One day at a time. One decision at a time. One brick at a time. Discipline is not what you say, it's what you do. One of the most liberating shifts you can make in life is this. Stop chasing applause and start chasing progress. Most people live as prisoners to other people's opinions. They wait for approval, for praise, for someone to notice them. Their confidence rises when they're complimented and collapses when they're ignored. That cycle is exhausting, and it's fragile. If you want true freedom, true confidence, and lasting peace, you must learn to measure yourself by one thing, your own progress. From childhood, you were conditioned to seek validation. You got stars for good grades, applause for achievements, approval for behaving right. Your brain was trained to connect self-worth with recognition. But here's the problem. Outside validation is inconsistent. Sometimes it comes. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you do your best work and no one notices. Sometimes you fail and people criticize. If your happiness depends on those reactions, you'll always feel unstable. One day you'll feel on top of the world, the next day worthless. All because you handed your sense of worth to other people. That's no way to live. Progress is different. Progress doesn't disappear. Progress doesn't depend on anyone clapping. It belongs to you. When you run farther than yesterday, that's progress. When you focus longer than you did last week, that's progress. When you resist an excuse you would have given into before, that's progress. These small wins might look invisible to others, but to you, they're undeniable proof that you're moving forward. And when you choose to measure yourself by progress, you create a fuel source that never runs out. Validation feels good, but it's addictive. The more you get, the more you need. Compliments fade quickly, so you start chasing the next one, and the next, and the next. You live in a cycle of craving recognition just to feel okay. Progress works differently. Progress compounds. Each improvement stacks on the last. When you look back after weeks, months, or years, you see how far you've come. That realization gives you a pride no compliment can match. Validation is a sugar rush. Progress is real nutrition. When you live for validation, you naturally compare yourself to others. You measure your worth by who's ahead of you, who's getting more recognition, who's shining brighter. That comparison eats away at confidence, because there will always be someone who looks further in some area. But when you live for progress, the comparison ends. You only measure yourself against who you were yesterday. That question, am I better than I was before, is the only one that matters. And it's a question you can always win. Imagine finishing a project at work. If you're addicted to validation, you'll feel good only if your boss praises you or your coworkers notice. If they don't, you'll feel deflated even if you worked with excellence. But if you measure by progress, you'll feel proud because you know you performed better than before, you stayed focused, you grew in the process. Even if no one says a word, you own the truth of your improvement. That pride is stable. It doesn't fade when the applause fades because it was never built on applause in the first place. To strengthen this mindset, keep a record of your growth. Write down 3 ways you progressed each day. Did you keep a promise to yourself? Did you resist an excuse? Did you act with discipline when you wanted comfort? These moments may feel small, but they're not. They are bricks in the foundation of your character. And when you record them, you train your mind to recognize progress as the true reward. Here's another truth. Sometimes progress looks like showing up even if the result isn't perfect. If you wrote when you didn't feel like it, that's progress. If you worked out when you were tired, that's progress. If you faced discomfort instead of running from it, that's progress. The outcome may not always be flawless, but the effort is what builds you, and effort is always progress. Living for validation makes you arrogant when people praise you and bitter when they don't. Living for progress keeps you humble, because you always know there's more to improve. Keeps you steady, because your sense of worth doesn't swing with the noise of outside voices. You stay grounded. You stay focused. You stay free. When you look back one day, you won't remember the likes, the claps, the fleeting compliments. You'll remember the days you grew, the days you stayed disciplined when no one cared, the days you kept promises to yourself. That's what lasts. That's what shapes your legacy. Not the noise of approval, but the quiet evidence of progress. So the question is, will you keep chasing validation that fades, or will you build your life on progress that lasts? Validation will never be enough. Progress will always be enough. When you live this way, you no longer need the world to tell you you're on the right track. You know it. You feel it. You see it in the undeniable evidence of your own growth. That is real confidence. That is lasting fulfillment. And that is how you build a life that no opinion can shake.